Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to be talking about Ruth Kluger from Still Alive and how her identities had shaped her life. So whenever she was a child, her identity mostly was experienced through her Jewish identity, living in Austria, in Vienna at the time. Um, and she felt that identity in a variety of ways, from being kicked out of the school that she was going to and moved into a Jewish school, and then ultimately not going to school at all. Um, Not being able to experience normal childhood things like going to the movies. And when she did go to the movies, being scared and being called out by one of the other German girls for being at the movies and how she wasn't allowed to be there. And ultimately, her Jewish identity is what caused her to end up in a concentration camp. And so during her time in the concentration camp, her identity as a Jew is what she experienced the most during that time. Um, as she got older, and then whenever she left the concentration camp, her Jewish identity is something that she had to hide. While her mom and her stepsister could look German, she couldn't look German. So not only was she hiding her identity, she was also hiding herself so they wouldn't be caught. And then whenever they immigrated to the United States, the identity that she mostly felt was her identity as an immigrant coming from Austria, and her identity as being Jewish because she was behind in school too. And so she had to learn a new language, and she expressed like the difficulties of learning that language and how things were said different, or trying to learn proper words for it. And so her identity also, as the rest of her life went on, she identified as a Holocaust survivor, but that was another identity that she had to suppress just because, as she discussed, like whenever she would be with friends and they'd be sharing stories, she also would want to share her stories as a Holocaust survivor, but usually her stories were just a little bit too much. But even though that was her identity, it was also something that people didn't necessarily expect her to identify as, because she was a woman. And they more so felt that like Holocaust survivors were men. They didn't really think about the women in the concentration camps as well. And so her identity was also felt from being a woman. And she tells about these experiences about being a Jewish woman, which tends to be more male focused. And so she talks about one experience of trying to speak and being told to be quiet, or being like snapped at because she was a woman. And so during this time, she had a whole intersection of multiple identities between being an immigrant, being Jewish, being a Holocaust survivor, and how all these identities came together, and how some that she had to suppress, but there's also things that ended up defining her in her life as she went on, because a lot of her life with her professional life stemmed from her being a Holocaust survivor and also being an immigrant.